you have a role in this state, don't you?
Yes, I'm a state rep for Celebrate Recovery.
And what does that mean?
Oh, that means that when a Celebrate Recovery is trying to get started, they can reach out to a state rep so they can find out the process to get it started. And so we help them work through the 90-day startup program to get their Celebrate Recovery started. We guide them through that process, and so when they have questions, we answer the questions and help them get started. We also, Celebrate Recovery, they have what they call a DNA. And in the DNA, we have certain core things with the program that we want to make sure that every Celebrate Recovery does. And so we want to, it's like when you go to McDonald's, you order a Big Mac, or you order a quarter pounder. Yeah, I saw you too the other day.
Whatever.
So, but when you order that and you get that, you know exactly what you're getting. And so when we have those core elements of Celebrate Recovery that we make sure that stays in each Celebrate Recovery that's out there, so that when you are traveling, people that are in recovery, we need structure. And so being able to go to another one and know that what you're going to step into, what it's going to be like, helps you, actually show up, and then it just helps you with your recovery, and it makes sure that the program stays safe.
Yeah.
So as a Celebrate Recovery state rep, I make sure that they're staying within the DNA of Celebrate Recovery. And so I go out and I visit the ones that, I'm in Southwest Missouri. It goes all the way over to Joplin, down to the south corner, like Seligman, Missouri, and Shell Knob, and Cassville. We got many, we have about 20 that are in this area that I go out. We're right now going through a process. We're going and visiting each one. We try once a year to go visit each one and just check them out. So we're getting the calendar out, we're scheduling out, and we're going seeing these. What we do as a state rep, we help CRs get started, and after they get through the 90-day startup program, then they have their kickoff meeting. About 90 days later or whatever, as a state rep, I'll come in and check them out, see if they're following the DNA. If they're following the DNA, then we're going to get them on the national locator, and so that people out there can be able to search the CelebrateRecovery.com website or the app and be able to find the CR and everything.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, don't they have a program for veterans?
They have it, it's called Welcome Home.
And what does that look like? I mean, I don't know a lot about that, so can you shed some light on that?
Well, see, when you come to Celebrate Recovery, well, let me go over what you can expect when you come to a Celebrate Recovery on a Celebrate Recovery night. We normally, not all of them, but a lot of them will start out with a meal. That's the time for them for dinner. People are coming from work, they're coming and they don't always have time to get a meal, so we start out with a little meal. Not all of them do that, but the ones that can, they do that, and then we go into a large group meeting. In that large group meeting, we're going to have some praise and worship. We're going to go over the steps or the principles. We're going to have a lesson or testimony, and that's how we have a lesson. We have 25 lessons that we go over throughout the year, and we go lesson, testimony, lesson, testimony, lesson, testimony, and so it alternates every other week. And so you do that. We close out with the serenity prayer, and then we break out into our small groups. And small groups are gender specific and issue specific. Some, if they're a small Celebrate Recovery, they'll just have an A to Z or multi issue group, and it's just everybody can go in there. But they break up into gender specific and issue specific, and that's where it breaks up for like Welcome Home. We're gonna, for those that can, they're gonna have a group for just like first responders. They're gonna have one for just the military called Welcome Home, because we found that if you've been in the military, we have a camaraderie, and we know what it's like being in the military, and then we know what it's like transitioning back to civilian life, which can be very difficult
Yep.
and hard. And so getting in with that group with like Welcome Home, it's just a group that they sit around, they're able to share, able to get to know each other, and be able to connect with one another. And so this, when you go into your small group, we have 5 group guidelines. We do share 3 to 5 minutes. That way Carrie can't take up all the talking. I've had to shut him down a couple of times. So you never know what he's going to do. But that's the way everybody has an opportunity to share, because everybody's important. It's not just about one person. We let everybody share, and we want to do the I and the me statements. This is where they talk about themselves. You know, they may talk about an issue or something that happened, but we want them to talk about their feelings, how they're feeling, and how they're dealing with that. That way, that really gets to the root cause and gets that out there. So we do the 3 to 5 minutes. We have no crosstalk. So when that person is sharing,
What does that mean?
no, just like that. You just crosstalk. That's when someone interrupts. That's when someone's sharing, we want them, they got the floor. We want everybody to have attention on them. We don't want them to have their phones out, getting on their phones, or talking to someone else beside them. We want everybody to be focused on them and what they're doing. Because, I mean, when you're sharing some deep stuff, you know, and I'm trying to get a breakthrough on something, and someone over here is playing on the phone, or they're cross-talking, or they're doing things that's disrupting me, then I can shut down, and I may not actually share. So we try to keep that, and that keeps it a safe environment. So another one is we're there to support one another, not fix one another. I'm not a licensed counselor, and you may have someone in there that is, but I don't come to Celebrate Recovery for somebody to fix me. I came to Celebrate Recovery because I had an issue, and I didn't have a safe place to talk about it. And I found that I come to Celebrate Recovery, I was able to talk about my issue. Nobody judged me. And that's what helped me to open up and really get to the root cause of my issues and be able to work that. So we say, we support one another. I might tell you how I got through something, but I'm not going to try to fix you. That's actually called codependency, maybe a little bit.
Well, you're constantly trying to fix me.
No, I'm trying to get you on the right path. That's hard. So, in anonymity and confidentiality are basic requirements in a group. That's where what is said in the group stays in the group. That way, you know, I can go in there, and I've been going to Celebrate Recovery for over 7.5 years. My wife has been going to the same group, and every time I go and I share, if I share a struggle that I'm having in my marriage, I don't have my wife come up to me later, I heard you shared about that, you know? So that keeps it safe. And also it keeps it safe, so if you're out there in the community and so you don't have someone else is talking about what you talked about and what your issues are. So what's shared in the group stays in the group. The only time that we're going to break that is if someone threatens to injure themselves or others. If they're talking about suicide, or they're going to go take care of their ex's new boyfriend or whatever, then we're going to interject in that. We want to keep them around. We're going to call. We're going to get the suicide hotline involved. We're going to get people involved to do that, or get with that person. Keep them safe. Make sure that they're around tomorrow, or keep them out of jail.
Now, if I can interject or crosstalk, a few months ago, you did have for your leaders training on mental health, and you all talked specifically about if somebody is struggling, or that at that point where they're giving up, questions to ask, and then there is a plan in place to get the help they need, which I really thought the world of that training session, and so I'm glad you're doing that for the leaders. That is, yeah, we in Wellness for Warriors, we talk about building relationships of trust. You know, we're constantly working with veteran community, current military, and we've had some conversations recently with active military, they're concerned about three things. And this was on the Army side, so Army and National Guard side. The suicide attempts are up, substance abuse is up, and also the military on the Army and National Guard, the PT standards have changed. So have you ever done CrossFit? So the PT standard, now Truman can probably do it because he's a mega athlete, but it's like doing CrossFit and then doing the 2-mile run.
Okay.
And it's changed, and some of their hardcore, you can't even do it. Some of their hardcore, I mean, so we're providing sponsorships to get them into the fitness center to train them. And so, but building those relationships of trust.
Yeah.
And you brought up first responders, so that's part of the population in which we serve. And two stats I want to throw out, and then I'm going to let you continue your talk, because I feel like you're hitting on some things that people need to hear. Not necessarily, I mean, we do focus on the spiritual, but some of the things that we're talking about, dealing with the core issues, having a safe place, knowing where to turn.
Yeah.
But since 9/11, more military, current active military, have died by suicide than by combat. And then in first responders, in the last 2 years, what do you think the top 2 killers were for first responders?
Suicide.
Suicide's number 2. Guess what the first one is still, as of this month? COVID.
COVID.
So for the last 2 years for first responders, COVID and then suicide has taken the lives of many of our first responders. So I know one of the reasons I came back is because you all had a heart for first responders. So how can, and I don't even know the time because these clocks are rogue, so it's 9:24. So with what you do and what Celebrate Recovery does, what would you say to them if they're watching now, if they're listening now? How can they reach out to us? How can they, find that place? And I know you mentioned their website, but many are looking, but they're not certain, and many are not religious. So,
well, you don't have to be religious or to come to Celebrate Recovery. We have people that come to Celebrate Recovery that are not, going to church and so forth. So that's not a requirement. That's just the format that we choose in our Celebrate Recovery. But if someone's out there, they're hurting, I implore you to reach out and to get on the website, find the phone number to the local Celebrate Recovery. Call that number. Even if you don't think Celebrate Recovery is for you, they can maybe direct you to some place that would work better for you. And they know of resources that are out there that can help you, whatever situation that you're in at this time. And that's one of the last things that we did at our last leaders meeting is we went through a resource list, and we created a resource list so that someone comes to Celebrate Recovery and they're having needing help in this area or whether they're homeless or they're need help with food or they need help finding a job or all the different types of resources out there. And we just started in Greene County making a list of all the resources out there. Now there's other organizations out there, NAMI and so forth, and they have one that's more has more resources on it and so forth and covers more of an area. But we was trying to look at most of the population that we get at our Celebrate Recovery, where they live and where they're at and where their resources are is. Because the thing about it is, number one, you're not the only one that is feeling the way that you're feeling right now. I remember when I first came to Celebrate Recovery, I thought I was the only one dealing with this issue. I was the only one feeling this way. But as I sat around and I heard other people talk, I realized I'm not alone. In whatever situation you're in, you're not alone. There's other people that have already been through that situation, and they can help you get through that situation in a healthy manner. So number one, don't feel that you're the only one dealing with that situation. Number two, reach out. Reach out, call someone you know, talk to them, let them know what you're thinking, how you're feeling, what you're, if you're thinking about committing suicide or taking your own life. You know, that's a permanent solution to a temporary issue. Reach out, talk to someone, let somebody help bring you some help, because there's people and there's resources to help you get to a healthy place.
That's awesome. We've been doing this for, Wellness for Warriors. We started this 2016, last year alone. So let me define what we define an intervention. Intervention is, let's say you reach out and you need immediate connection, whatever that is. And last year, even through COVID, we had 52, so that's like averaging once a week. We are constantly getting emails, calls, and and so I'm grateful for that, you know. And then, but I also know there's so many out there. Had a conversation, I don't even know what today is, Friday, so it's Wednesday. But it was with one of our third shift EMS supervisors. And we were talking about some things, and some of the things our men and women see, EMS, paramedics, air care, you know, not everybody's built for that. You might go to school for that. I went to school to be a medic, but the first time I was in an ER where this guy had been shot up, you know, I mean, it affected me. You know, so sometimes it's not what maybe we experience but it's something we see. So we do experience it, but it might not be something that was done to us. And so that I remember a couple of years ago, I was on my way to Verona, and there was an accident. I didn't know what it was. And so I bypassed it. I was on 44 going to go down that way, and I decided to turn off because traffic was backed up for miles, and I went back around through Springfield and took 60 out there. If you recall, do you remember when the van collided with the semi-trailer? Well, some of our EMS that were on that call, when they got there, there was 3 kids out on the highway that were gone, and that affects them. And so I want to reiterate what Michael has said. Maybe it's not something that you did or someone did to you, but maybe it's something you've seen, maybe it's something you've experienced.
Yeah.
But that can even cause trauma.
Yeah.
And I know that it's something you don't want to deal with alone. And so I do want to encourage and reiterate for people to reach out. And I'm so grateful we're starting to see that. Now, I got something I'm going to throw out there, and we'll let you tackle this. Conversations I've had recently with some senior leaders. When I say senior leaders, I'm talking about people that are high up in the chain, right? So it could be any organization. Maybe it's the CEO of a bank. Maybe it's the, officer in the military that's in charge of his unit. Here we have senior leaders, but a lot of them are scared to reach out. So what would you say to someone that's high profile and is struggling inside, and they're like, man, I can't let anyone know? What would you say to them?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, for Celebrate Recovery, it's a safe place. My wife was a nurse, and when she was coming and she first comes, she goes, I can't go there. People think I have an issue. And I came from a background, my father was a pastor, and so there's a lot of people have a stigma and they think coming to come out to get help, puts a label on them. But that's not what happens at Celebrate Recovery, because we know that everyone is an individual that's went through something that's got them to where they are today, where they're at today. And they need help processing that so that they can make healthy choices now. And so it's a safe place. And so we have some profile people that come to our Celebrate Recovery, but they were scared at the beginning, but they know it's safe now. They know that they don't get called out. They know that it hasn't made it out. And so it's a safe place to come. So I just ask you to reach out.
So this is our wooden nickel. Mike, can give you our wooden nickel. Have I ever given you one of these?
No.
So that's for military, EMS, law, fire. Read the back of it though. What's it say?
No one left behind.
Yeah. And I can honestly say, since I've met this guy, he keeps me pretty much in line. He'll call me out if he needs to. Yeah, it's a tough job. My wife can vouch for that. We're all imperfect.
Yeah.
You know, Michelle, are you perfect?
No.
Truman, are you perfect?
No way.
I figured he would have said, of course I am. Oh my gosh. And so, yeah, don't go through this journey alone.
No.
I can't do it. I can tell you just recently my cousin died that I totally loved and cared for. He lived in San Diego, then relocated to Oklahoma. And so, I mean, I didn't see him all the time, but his name was Buddy, and Buddy was one of those guys that just made you smile, you know, and he loved people. And somebody ran a red light and smashed into him. He didn't die immediately, but that was the wreck that caused his death. We're transitioning my mom into a nursing home. I mean, we all go through stuff.
Yeah.
And so don't go through this journey alone, right, Truman? Yeah.
That's right.
Truman, you know, God bless him. 90 years old when he reached out to us. 90 years old when he reached out to us. And because of that, like I said, his story's been told nationally. His alma mater just honored him with the Hall of Fame. I mean, it's just been amazing. And so reach out if you just need to talk.
Yes.
We have a lot of resources, and I know Celebrate Recovery, they're working on that list. But there's a lot of Celebrate Recoveries out there.
It's
So
a process.
it's a process, that's true.
That's right.
You know, and it's not going to happen overnight. I mean, oh my
so
goodness,
true.
when my wife, my son's mom, told me she was leaving, I came home from work and she was gone and my son was gone and so yeah, buddy of mine that was in the Navy, Steve, he was on a ship. He came back, everything was gone except his wife left his guitar. The whole place was empty. People go through stuff, don't they?
I do.
But we don't need to go through it alone.
That's right.